I did not chase money, I called it. I did not hope for money, I hosted it. And I did not earn my wealth by toil, but by tone. I tell you plainly with the rhythm of divine remembrance. The money is not in the market, not in the method, not in the mind. The money is in the mouth. If you would but understand the spiritual architecture of your life, you would see that every dollar you've received was a result of a decree you once made in faith, or a doubt you once repeated in fear. The word is the warehouse. The tongue is the trigger. The voice is the vault. And when you speak from the seat of divine dominion, money rushes not by effort but by law. You've been trained to chase. I was trained to speak. You've been told that labor brings income. But I tell you that law brings increase. The rhythm of heaven is not reactive, it is declarative. The law does not need your exhaustion. It needs your exhalation. Speak, breathe, declare, and so it shall be. For I have seen it again and again in my work. The woman with no clients who began to say, I am always in demand. And the floodgates opened. The man with $5 who declared, I am funded by heaven. And checks began to arrive. The student who had no tuition but said, God is my instant supply. And the university made a way. These are not tricks. They are not hacks. They are not wishful thinking. They are the eternal response of divine substance to the spoken word. If you would only cease begging and begin blessing, if you would stop describing lack and start decreeing wealth, you would find that the universe is not ignoring you. It is echoing you. It is matching you. It is mirroring your mouth. Let me make this plain. These 10 sentences I will give you are not poetic ornaments. They are spiritual instruments. Each one is a key. Each one is a code. Each one is a container of power that, when spoken daily, rhythmically, faithfully, will dismantle the patterns of poverty that have hidden themselves in your nervous system, your language, your bank balance, and your expectation. You do not rise by strategy, you rise by speech. You do not ascend by effort, you ascend by utterance. And your inheritance is not postponed. It is provoked. Say it with me. The money is in the mouth. Say it again slowly. The money is in the mouth. Feel the shift in your belly as you say it. Feel the law rise to meet you. For the divine does not respond to panic. It responds to pattern. And these sentences spoken in daily rhythm shall establish the pattern. Speak and let your wealth come forth. Speak and let your days be ordered. Speak and let the windows of heaven open over your life. Not by striving, but by sound. Because everything you see was once spoken. Everything you touch was once declared. Everything you now spend was once spiritual substance translated into form. And every dollar you have ever held began as a word, either permitted or rejected by your tongue. You must understand this law with holy reverence. Words do not describe your world, they design it. They are not reflections, they are roots. They are not effects, they are causes. When you open your mouth, you are not simply speaking, you are legislating. And until you know that your declarations are the true currency of your wealth, you will continue to scramble for crumbs when your tongue was created to deliver feasts. Let me take you back to the foundation of all divine law. Job 22:28. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, not thought, not hoped, not feared, decreed, spoken. Declared with spiritual confidence and covenantal rhythm. For the universe is not waiting on your hustle. It is waiting on your decree. The angels do not move by strategy, they move by sound. The money does not arrive by effort, it arrives by law, and the law is voice activated. I speak as one who has seen the impossible bow to the word. I have seen lack retreat when truth was spoken with no apology. I have seen entire households shift when a single voice stood in authority and said, We are not the poor, we are the funded of God. You must begin to see your words not as emotional vents, but as vibrational commands. Every sentence you speak is an invoice. Every declaration is a deposit slip in the vault of heaven. Every phrase you repeat becomes a contract that angels fulfill. You say I can't afford it, and the universe says understood. You say money comes easily to me and the gates open. There is no neutrality in the tongue. It either opens the flow or blocks it. It either carries the frequency of fear or the code of wealth, and the difference is not in circumstance but in consciousness. Wealth consciousness is not a mindset. It is a mouth set, and your life will rise or fall to meet the rhythm of your mouth. Say this with me now, and feel its truth take root in your soul. Money is not attracted by need. It is obeyed by speech. Yes, speak it until your nervous system accepts it. Speak it until your inner child no longer flinches when bills arrive. Speak it until your future self is already nodding in agreement. For the word never returns void. It does not beg. It does not guess. It does not plead for permission. The word is law. The word is rhythm. The word is wealth. And when you say it daily, not as therapy, not as hope, but as law, you will see what the world calls money begin to rearrange itself around you, not as a favor, but as a fulfillment of your sound. Wealth, my beloved, is not an accident. It is not a reward. It is not a prize handed to the lucky or a mystery reserved for the elite. It is a rhythm, a divine invisible cadence that answers only to those who have trained their mouth to move in harmony with law. And if your life has been disordered, if your finances have been chaotic, if your provision has been inconsistent, it is not because God has withheld. It is because rhythm has not been established. You have not yet spoken daily in alignment with truth. You have not yet dared to treat your word like currency. You have not yet chosen to rise every morning and say, "This is my first payment of the day. I now speak my supply into being." I say to you without hesitation, there is no wealth without rhythm. There is no overflow without repetition. There is no lasting provision without daily declaration. This is not magic. This is not superstition. This is not emotional fluff to trick your feelings. This is spiritual law in action. The same way the sun rises, the same way the tide returns, the same way your lungs obey the breath, so must wealth obey the one who speaks in rhythm with truth. Do not think that one strong affirmation will erase years of financial fear. Do not believe that speaking once a week is enough to reprogram a lifetime of generational lack. If you want to get paid daily, you must speak daily. If you want to harvest regularly, you must sow regularly. And your seed is not money. It is your mouth. The spoken word is your spiritual salary. It is your divine paycheck written in the ink of vibration and signed by the hand of faith. Every time you say, "Large sums of money come to me now under grace," you are cashing in a heavenly draft. Every time you say, "I am funded by divine law," you are calling forth the invisible bank to release its riches. But you must do it daily, not when it's convenient, not when you're in crisis, not when the bill arrives every day, morning, midday, and night before the need appears, before the worry begins, before the fear can speak. You must beat it to the punch. You must outspeak your circumstance. You must train your life to obey your rhythm, not your reaction. This is the discipline of the divine. Not effort, not hustle, not begging, but the consistency of sacred sound. You do not need a business plan before you speak. You do not need a job offer before you speak. You do not need a credit score before you speak. Speak first. Speak in faith. Speak in rhythm. Let the universe hear your song before it sees your situation. Declare with boldness, "The word is my paycheck in advance." And then walk as if it's already cleared, for it has. In the realm of spirit, the check has already been written. The only delay is whether you have spoken it into manifestation. You must learn, beloved, not just what to speak, but how to speak. For spiritual law does not respond to emotion. It responds to authority. It does not listen to your desperation. It listens for your dominion. You cannot beg your way into wealth, and you cannot cry your way into prosperity. Heaven has never moved at the sound of panic. It moves only when it hears the vibration of remembrance, the tone of one who knows they are already supplied. When you speak from fear, the universe hears contradiction. When you speak from waiting, the vault remains closed. But when you speak as one who knows the law, one who trusts the process, one who understands that the word spoken in rhythm has already established the result, then all things begin to move in obedience to that sound. Speak as one already funded. Speak as one already chosen. Speak not with the weak tone of wishful thinking, but with the strong cadence of spiritual certainty. Do not say, "I hope this works." That is not law. That is doubt disguised as politeness. Do not say, "I wish I could afford that." That is not reverence. That is rejection of the very supply that waits at your door. Say instead, "It is already mine in divine substance. I now speak it into form." Say it not once. Say it not soft. Say it as one who carries a scroll from heaven with their name written in gold. Your speech is not suggestion. It is not negotiation. It is decree. Thou shalt decree a thing and it shall be established unto thee. The scripture does not say, "Thou shalt beg for a thing." It does not say, "Thou shalt hint gently at the thing." It says, "Decree." That is the language of kings. That is the vibration of wealth. If your voice trembles, still speak. If your mind doubts, still speak. If your body shakes, still speak. But do not adjust your tone to match your fear. Adjust your fear to match your tone. Raise the vibration. Flatten the anxiety with rhythm. Speak until the sound becomes stronger than the silence of doubt. I do not mean chant. I do not mean perform. I mean declare. Declare as one who knows the angels are already assigned. Declare as one who knows supply is already gathered. Declare as one who understands that the substance of all things is waiting for the sound that matches it. The tone of law is not loud. The tone of law is not forced. The tone of law is not dramatic. It is clear. It is simple. It is unmoved by appearances. It is free of emotional apology. You do not say, "Please God, I need this." You say, "Thank you, Father. It is done." You do not say, "I don't know how this will work out." You say, "I now command divine substance to form around my word." That is law. That is tone. That is the voice of a spiritual millionaire. Not someone trying to become rich, but someone who has remembered they already are. Your wealth does not respond to volume. It responds to vibration. So if you want the money to come, if you want the supply to flow, if you want the provision to locate you, then shift the tone. Speak like one who has never been denied, and life will begin to echo your rhythm. When I first understood this sentence, not with my intellect, but with my inner hearing, it was as if an entire wall of limitation dissolved inside me. God is my instant and infinite supply. Do you feel what happens when you speak it slowly, as a law, as a certainty, not just as a phrase? Say it again. Not quickly, not like a chant. Say it like you are placing bricks of truth beneath your feet. God is my instant and infinite supply. This sentence dismantles the mental fortress of financial fear. It overrides ancestral scarcity codes. It silences the panicked voice within that says, "Where will it come from?" and replaces it with the eternal answer from God, instantly, infinitely. Now this declaration reorients your entire sense of source. Most people have not been taught to expect provision from the divine. They expect checks from employers, deposits from clients, gifts from parents, luck from the lottery. But I was never taught to make man my source. I was taught to speak as one whose account is held in heaven and accessible by voice. And the password, this sentence, this vibration: God is my instant and infinite supply. Not my delayed supply, not my conditional supply, not my supply. If I behave well or do enough, number my instant supply, my infinite supply. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is law. It is covenant. It is truth. And when you begin to speak it with the tone of remembrance, wealth begins to shift from being a distant hope to a daily rhythm. The key to this sentence is its refusal to name delay. It does not say God will be. It says God is present tense. Law works now, not later. When you speak this, you are entering into alignment with the eternal present, where all provision already exists. And what about instant? That word has frightened many. But Florence, nothing is instant. They say I say in spirit everything is. Instant does not mean rushed, it means unblocked. Instant means the delay is not divine. It is mental. The supply is not forming. It is waiting, and when your speech matches your source, there is no longer any reason for delay. Then we come to infinite. The fear of running out. How many live each day glancing nervously at their balance, rationing their requests, apologizing for their desires. But when you say infinite, you are denying the entire premise of lack. You are saying I serve a God who cannot run dry. I am backed by a law that cannot fail. I am in covenant with a vault that never closes. Do you see? One sentence properly understood destroys years of financial fear. One sentence, when spoken with rhythm and conviction, rewrites your nervous system, reshapes your energetic field, and reassigns your spiritual identity from beggar to beneficiary. So I say again, speak it not once but daily. Morning before your feet touch the floor. Noon before your mind begins to spiral. Night before sleep opens the subconscious. Say it with breath. Say it with rhythm. Say it until your cells believe you. God is my instant and infinite supply. You are not waiting for proof. You are becoming the proof. You are not hoping the money comes. You are commanding your life to rise in agreement with spiritual law. And when you speak this sentence with your full authority, with your full breath, with the memory of truth in your tone, the money begins to move. The supply begins to respond. The law begins to manifest. This sentence is not passive. It is not poetic. It is not merely inspirational. It is electrical. It is governmental. It is wealth-coded in divine frequency, placed in your mouth for daily release. So I ask you, will you speak it now? Will you make this sentence your morning mirror, your midday anchor, your evening lullaby? If so, you will not need to guess when the money comes. You will already know, because the law is exact. The voice is the activator and the sentence is the key. Say it again. God is my instant and infinite supply. And now we continue. Let the rhythm of this sentence settle into your bones. Large sums of money come to me quickly under grace. Not trickles, not leftovers, not spare change and scraped together pennies, but large sums, meaningful sums, sacred sums. The kind of provision that lifts generations and funds visions, and restores what fear tried to steal. When I speak this sentence, I am not speaking as a child of luck. I am speaking as a vessel of divine order. This is not a mantra of greed. It is a statement of divine receptivity. For too long, people have been taught to feel guilty for wanting abundance, to feel unspiritual for desiring ease, to feel selfish for requesting more than just enough to survive. But I will not whisper where law tells me to proclaim. I will not shrink back where spirit says, stretch out your tent pegs. This sentence is not about greed. It is about law. And divine law always includes enough to give, enough to build, enough to bless, enough to overflow. Large sums. Let us begin there. Why large? Because small amounts keep your vision small, your movement slow, and your voice quiet. Large sums stretch your faith, stretch your capacity, and stretch your obedience. There is nothing humble about scraping by when God has ordained overflow. There is nothing spiritual about struggling to fund your calling. There is nothing holy about delaying your destiny for the sake of playing small. Large sums is a legal term in spirit. It means I am now opening myself to receive what matches the magnitude of my mission. I am no longer negotiating with crumbs. I am no longer ashamed to ask. I am no longer trying to make do. I am now a steward of divine abundance, and large sums are my rightful portion. Now we continue. Come to me. Not maybe, not sometimes, not eventually, they come. Supply does not hesitate when the voice of law is spoken. Supply does not resist those who walk in rhythm. Supply does not ignore the one who has remembered their source. When you speak this sentence, you are not wondering if it will happen. You are authorizing the arrival. You are commanding the unseen to organize. You are lifting your expectation from desperation to dominion. Come to me is not a plea. It is a decree. It is the language of divine legality. When I say large sums of money come to me, I am announcing to the law of supply that my gates are open, my mind is prepared, my hands are ready, and my voice has spoken. And then the sacred phrase quickly under grace. Oh, how the mind wants to resist the word quickly. But Florence, money takes time, building takes years, accumulation is slow. And I say to you, those are the words of human conditioning, not spiritual alignment. Time is not your master. Law is, and when you speak the rhythm of grace, speed is no longer aggressive. It is accurate. Quickly does not mean rushed. It means now. It means unhindered. It means no more resistance. And grace. Grace is the oil that removes friction. Grace is the invisible kindness that smooths the path. Grace is the divine covering that ensures wealth arrives without guilt, without sorrow, without shame, without fear. Under grace means I do not fight for it. I do not trade my peace for it. I do not lose my soul in pursuit of it. Grace means that what comes to me is what belongs to me, arrives at the perfect moment, and blesses everyone it touches. You must speak this sentence until it replaces the sentences you've spoken for years. Those old agreements with delay, with poverty, with striving, with resignation. You must speak it in the mirror until your eyes shine with recognition. You must speak it on your walks while you pay your bills, before you sleep, and when you rise. You must make it the frequency of your breath and the echo of your heartbeat. Large sums of money come to me quickly under grace. This is not a hope. It is a code. It is not a wish. It is a law, and when spoken daily with faith and rhythm and alignment, it becomes the very instrument by which supply is summoned and received. So I say it again, and this time let it settle. Large sums of money come to me quickly under grace. Say it slowly. Say it with rhythm. Say it as one who knows, not one who begs. For the law is not slow. The law is not cruel. The law is not confused. The law is activated by the voice that dares to speak what Spirit has already prepared. Say it, beloved, again and again until the words are no longer separate from your soul. And watch, yes, truly watch the money come. What I speak appears. These 4 words carry more spiritual voltage than years of effort, more creative power than 1,000 plans, more unseen momentum than the most elaborate strategy ever devised by man. I say it boldly, simply, directly, because that is how divine law functions. It does not stutter. It does not wait to be believed by the crowd. It does not consult the opinions of those who do not walk by spirit. The law responds only to one thing. The spoken word of one who knows their voice is law. What I speak appears is not just a poetic sentiment or a feel-good affirmation. It is metaphysical legislation. It is the purest expression of the law of command which governs all manifestation. When you speak, you initiate. When you speak, you build. When you speak, you release the form from the formless, and cause from the unseen begins to materialize itself into the visible. There are those who say, I tried to speak it, but it didn't work. And I say to them, the law is not swayed by the mouth alone, but by the consciousness behind the mouth. The word must be declared from identity, not fear, from certainty, not hope, from rhythm, not repetition. What I speak appears is a sentence that becomes true, not because you chant it, but because you align with it. You become it. You clear the clutter of double-mindedness and begin to live, breathe, and walk as one whose world obeys their tongue. Most people speak from appearance, and therefore receive more of what already is. But I have learned to speak from truth, and therefore create what the world has never seen. This is the ancient technology of the prophets, the secret rhythm of the mystics, and the eternal decree of the spiritually awake. Speech precedes substance. The tongue is the womb of reality. The word is the master key. And this is why I no longer wait to see it before I say it. I say it and then I see it. I no longer ask, is it working? For that question is a cancellation of the law itself. I no longer beg God to intervene, for God already built the mechanism of divine manifestation into the machinery of speech. I no longer try to time my good. I declare it. I command it. I walk in it. I become it because I speak it. What I speak appears becomes the rule of life for the one who has graduated from delay, from doubt, from intellectual pride, and entered into the dominion of divine law. The heavens are waiting not for your struggle, but for your sound. The invisible does not move because you hustle. It moves because you speak. Let your voice be the architect. Let your decree be the drawing. Let your language be the ladder by which your blessing descends. You must speak with rhythm. You must speak with authority. You must speak even when the facts do not agree, because the facts are not your source. The law is, you must speak when you feel nothing. You must speak when you doubt yourself. You must speak not to feel better but to shape better. You must speak as a lawgiver, not a lawbreaker. For every time you say what I speak appears, you are not just repeating a phrase. You are reminding the very molecules of your world that you are the original voice they obeyed when you entered this life. The money, the opportunity, the home, the client, the clarity. It all bends to the word. And not just any word, but your word when it is spoken from alignment, from remembrance, from law. You do not chase what is yours, you announce it. You do not explain yourself to appearances. You override them. So I invite you now not just to whisper this truth, but to wear it like a mantle. What I speak appears. Say it not once but daily. Say it as you rise. Say it before you begin any work. Say it in the face of delay. Say it when fear tries to seduce you back into silence. Say it until your voice no longer trembles. Say it until the echo becomes your experience, for the law does not lie. And if what you speak appears, then all that remains is to choose wisely what you will say, and say it, and say it, and say it until your life reflects the clarity, the beauty, and the certainty of your voice. I do not earn wealth. I allow it. Let this sentence fall into the roots of your consciousness, where all your human striving has lived like a weary beast of burden, dragging the cart of survival behind it, panting beneath the weight of effort and doubt, and the subtle inherited guilt that says you must prove your worth before you can be supported. Let it sweep into the tangled mental vines of your upbringing, where you were taught that toil is sacred, but receiving is suspicious, that working until you collapse is honorable, but resting in divine law is lazy. Let this sentence burn through all that with the fire of truth. I do not earn wealth. I allow it. For the lie of the world is that money is given to those who labor hardest. But the law of the Spirit says, money is drawn to those who permit its presence, who align with its rhythm, who host its vibration with joy, dignity, and dominion. I was raised in a world that preached hustle and applauded exhaustion, that idolized the man who sacrificed his soul on the altar of grind. And I will tell you plainly, that is not wealth, it is enslavement. That is not power, it is panic with polish. True wealth does not reward pain, it responds to presence. It answers to alignment. It flows to those who have stopped fighting, begging, performing, and instead remembered that divine supply was never earned. It was always present, and merely required an open channel through which to pour itself. So when I say I do not earn wealth, I am not renouncing action. I am renouncing strain. I am not abdicating responsibility. I am dissolving resistance. I am choosing the higher path, the spiritual science of reception, the eternal pattern of the lies who toil not, and yet are clothed more gloriously than Solomon in all his wealth. And let me say it again to the part of you that still believes it's about the hours you work, or the number of followers you have, or the degrees on your wall. No amount of human effort can outmatch spiritual permission. You cannot hustle your way into harmony. You cannot prove your way into prosperity. You cannot climb your way into covenant. Wealth is not granted to the worthy. It is allowed by the aligned. And alignment is not achieved by labor. It is established by language, by declaration, by identity. By the way you walk into a room without apologizing for your calling. By the way you tithe your breath to truth each morning. By the way you allow your life to be ruled not by to-do lists, but by tuned-in law. I allow it. What a sacred rebellion. What a holy disruption of the economic spell cast over a world addicted to earning. When I say I allow it, I am standing at the gates of my own inheritance, with arms outstretched, with shame dissolved, with guilt burned in the fire of remembrance. I am telling heaven I am no longer ashamed to receive. I am telling God, I am no longer trying to deserve what is already mine. I am telling money, you no longer have to chase me. I am here, I am open, I am willing, I am in rhythm. I no longer grip, I no longer hoard, I no longer explain, I allow. And so I invite you, child of spirit, steward of substance, beloved of divine law. Release the myth of merit. Dismantle the idol of effort. Withdraw your worship from the gods of burnout and anxiety, and return to the altar of allowance. Say it with breath. Say it with rhythm. Say it until your nervous system stops flinching at the thought of abundance that requires no suffering. I do not earn wealth. I allow it. Allow it when it comes through a gift. Allow it when it arrives through ease. Allow it when it flows through strange channels and unexpected vessels. Allow it without explanation. Allow it without apology. Allow it because it is law. For the law never asked you to earn. It asked you to remember, to realign, to speak, to reauthor your reality, not by effort, but by energy, not by panic, but by peace, not by the sweat of your brow, but by the song of your voice. And when you finally allow, truly allow the floodgates open, not because you earned the rain, but because you removed the dam. Say it now aloud. I do not earn wealth, I allow it, and let the flood begin. This is your moment not to scroll away, not to wonder what might happen next, not to drift back into the hypnosis of old patterns, but to anchor the truth that has just flooded your atmosphere and saturated your subconscious with divine clarity. You did not arrive at this video by curiosity. You arrived because your voice was being summoned, your vibration was being tuned, your soul was being reminded. This was never entertainment. This was an initiation, and every law you have now heard is alive in your breath, your bone, your bloodstream waiting not to be admired, but activated. So I ask you not to like, not to follow, not to consume. I ask you to declare. Comment below with the one sentence you will now speak daily. Not to experiment, not to test, but to govern. This is not a request from Florence. It is a spiritual contract you are signing with your future. Will you speak or will you scroll? Will you commit or will you delay? Your voice is not just the messenger. It is the miracle. And if you are ready to walk in wealth, not as a fantasy, but as a rhythm, subscribe not for content but for covenant. This is a channel for those who legislate in the unseen. Those who know that the word is wealth, that the sentence is the salary, that the rhythm is the rain. This is your appointment with abundance. Write your sentence below. Speak it until your life agrees. And remember always, your word is your wand, your rhythm is your rain, your voice is the vault, and money is the servant of your sound.